The day my mother-in-law set out the good silver for Thanksgiving and called herself a generous woman, I was sitting at her table with a folder full of invoices she had paid for with my emergency fund. I let her carve the turkey before I said anything, because I wanted to hear the whole speech first. That sounds calculated, and maybe it was, but 3 months earlier I would have cried at this table and apologized for even looking. 3 months earlier I was a new mother on maternity leave who thought the woman refilling my fridge was doing me a favor. Let me back up. Connor and I had our first baby, Miles, in June. Maternity leave sounded like this soft, slow thing before it actually happened. In reality, I was healing from a delivery that did not go the way the classes promised, nursing every 2 hours. And Connor was back at work after 9 days because his job didn't offer paternity leave and we couldn't afford for him not to be. So when his mother, Ruth, offered to come help, I said yes before Connor even finished asking. Ruth is the kind of person who arrives with a casserole and a plan. First week, she brought groceries. Second week, she was doing laundry. Third week, she said, "Honey, let me just sit with the bills while you rest. Connor handles his half, but someone needs to put yours in." She meant well, I thought. She meant well for about a month. I had a personal emergency fund I'd built before I met Connor. Not huge. About $19,000. It was the one thing that was fully mine, because Connor and I keep some money separate and some together, and the emergency fund was my separate one. Ruth knew about it because she'd seen me transfer into it once when she was sitting at my laptop paying the electric bill. She'd said, "Oh good, you have a cushion, that's smart," and I'd felt proud, which sounds ridiculous now. Miles was maybe 10 weeks old when I opened my banking app to move money for diapers and saw the cushion had a dent in it. $1,400 gone. I stared at it and thought, okay, auto pay thing I forgot to charge. But there was no label I recognized, just a transfer I hadn't made. I told myself I was tired, I was sleep deprived, I'd figure it out later. A week later, another one, $900. Then 12. Then a big one, $3,200, that landed the same day. Ruth texted me, "Kitchen is coming along so beautifully, you're going to love it." That text stopped me. I read it 3 times, kitchen. Ruth had been talking about her little renovation for weeks, new cabinets, new counters, a proper place to host family dinners. She'd told Connor it was a gift to herself, paid for out of savings she and Greg had built up. She'd shown me pictures of tile samples on her phone while I nursed Miles, and I'd smiled and said they looked nice, because honestly I could barely follow the conversation. I pulled up the transaction list. I matched the amounts to nothing I'd authorized. Then I went to the mail Ruth had started sorting for me, the stack on the kitchen counter she always said she'd take care of, and I dug. There were invoices, 3 of them from a contractor I'd never hired, addressed to me. My name, my address on the billing line, but the work listed was a kitchen renovation at Ruth and Greg's house, $4,100, $8,600, $12,004. The due now line at the bottom matched the withdrawals. I sat on the kitchen floor with Miles asleep in the bassinet next to me and read the invoices 4 times. I wanted to throw up and I wanted to call her and scream, and I did neither. I took photos of everything with my phone because some part of me, even then, knew I'd need them. That night I called Ruth. I tried to be calm. I was not calm. "Ruth, there are charges on my emergency fund for a kitchen renovation at your house." A pause. "Then Beth, honey, those are invoices for the nursery work so I can watch Miles at my place. You said you wanted me to help with the baby. I'm doing this for you. There's no nursery on these invoices. It says kitchen, countertops, backsplash, appliance install. Beth." Her voice got the patient voice, the one she uses on Connor when he's wrong. "You're exhausted. You're not tracking things. Postpartum does this, you lose track. I have been managing your mail so you don't have to, that's a kindness. And this is how you thank me?" I hung up. I shouldn't have hung up. I should have kept her talking. But my hands were shaking and Miles started crying and I just put the phone down. The next 3 weeks were the worst part, the part I'm not proud of. Ruth went to Connor before I could. By the time I told him about the invoices, he'd already heard her version, that I was stressed, not sleeping, seeing patterns that weren't there, that I'd misread the mail and accused her of stealing. He didn't say I was crazy. He said, "Mom said you guys had a weird call. She's really upset. Can you just let her explain?" Connor, she charged $12,000 to my account. She says those are invoices for the baby's room at her place and there was some mix-up with the billing name. She said she'd straighten it out. A mix-up with the billing name. 3 times. Beth. He had that tired voice. Can you sit down with her? She's been here every week helping us. She loves Miles. I mean, he wasn't wrong that she'd been here. She had. She'd also been the one sitting at my computer and I hadn't changed a single password because I'd been grateful and stupid. Here's the thing I almost missed. While Connor and I were having that fight, Ruth was also texting his sister Nadia. I didn't know that yet. What I knew was that Nadia called me out of nowhere and said, "Hey, so Mom mentioned you're having a hard time, money stuff. If you ever want to talk about a budget, I'm happy to help. No judgment." She said no judgment in a way that had judgment in it. I said thanks, and I got off the phone, and I couldn't figure out why it stung until I thought about it for 2 days. So I did the thing I should have done from the start. I stopped reacting and started documenting. I pulled 6 months of bank statements. I pulled the contractor invoices, all of them, including 2 more that came in while I was gathering. I printed the transfers and wrote the dates next to the invoice amounts. I changed every password on every account, moved the emergency fund to a new bank she'd never seen, and revoked her access to the shared computer. I didn't tell her any of that. Then, on an old iPad Ruth had given us, the one Connor used for recipes, I found the messages. She'd logged into her iMessage on it once and never logged out. There were texts between Ruth and Nadia going back months. She's unstable, Nadia. The girl cannot manage money. I've had to step in or they'd lose the house. They would not lose the house. I'm renovating so they have somewhere nice to bring the baby. And she's acting like I'm stealing from her. After everything I do. Nadia, to her credit, had pushed back in one text. Did Beth say you took money? And Ruth had answered, she doesn't even know what she has, that's the problem. I sat with that for a long time. It wasn't the money, or it wasn't only the money. It was a story she was building about me, a story where I was the unstable one who couldn't be trusted, so that when I finally noticed the missing $19,000, by now it was nearly all of it, I'd sound like exactly what she'd been describing. The renovation was the theft. The texts were the alibi. That was the midpoint, the thing that changed how I saw all of it. Before that, I thought she was greedy. After that, I thought she was building a case. While I was checking the statements, I found one more thing. The electric bill. Our electric bill. It had gone up, and I'd assumed it was the AC running, but the account number on the autopay had been changed. Ruth, during one of her helpful bill-paying sessions, had redirected our utility autopay so that a chunk of it was paying her gas and electric too. Small $40-60 a month, the kind of thing you'd never catch. I'd been paying her utilities since July. I added it to the ledger. I built the whole thing in a spreadsheet. Invoice dates, transfer dates, amounts, the utility charges, the total. I printed it on the good printer at Connor's office when he wasn't there, because I wanted clean copies, and because a small part of me liked that it was his office paper. I was mad. I was allowed to be mad. I didn't tell Connor what I'd found. I wanted to. I almost did twice. But I'd watched him take her version first the last time, and I needed him to see the receipts before he heard her voice. Thanksgiving was at Ruth's. She'd insisted. New kitchen, she said. Come see what I did for this family. Greg was there, Nadia was there, Connor's uncle, a couple of neighbors. The kitchen was genuinely beautiful. White cabinets, marble that caught the light, and she'd set the dining room with the good silver, the real set she'd inherited, the one she only brings out for occasions. I brought Miles and I brought the folder. Ruth carved the turkey herself, standing, making a little ceremony of it, and dinner was fine. She was her best version. She served, she refilled, she told the neighbors how much she loved having the baby, how she'd redone the whole kitchen so the family could gather properly. Then, over pie, she gave the speech. I just want to say, this year I'm so grateful I could do something for my family. I know times have been hard for the kids, and I wanted them to have a place to come. Some of us are lucky enough to have savings, and I'm glad I could spend mine on the people I love. She looked at me when she said lucky enough. I think she meant it to land. It landed. I waited until she picked up her coffee. Then I set the folder on the table next to the good silver. Ruth, before we go on, I want to show everyone something. She went still. I opened the folder. I didn't read it all out. I turned it so Connor could see. These are invoices from Bremer Contracting, billed to my name, for this kitchen. 14 charges, totaling $18,600. Everyone matches a transfer out of my emergency fund. Here are the bank statements. Here's the ledger. I turned the page. This is a chain of text messages between Ruth and Nadia from Ruth's iMessage, where Ruth says I'm unstable and can't manage money. And this, I said, is our electric bill. The autopay was changed in July so that a portion goes to Ruth's utility account. $40 to $60 a month since summer. I didn't raise my voice. My hands were steady, which surprised me, because they hadn't been for weeks. Ruth didn't move. Then she said, that folder is private, Beth. You shouldn't have gone through my things. The texts are on an iPad you gave us, logged into your account. The invoices are in my name. The bank statements are mine. Nothing in that folder is yours to hide. Greg put his fork down. He looked at Ruth. He didn't say anything, but he looked at her for a long time, and she looked away first. Connor didn't speak for maybe a full minute. I watched him read the invoices, then the bank lines, then the texts. When he got to the texts, his jaw did this thing. Then he looked at his mother and said quietly, Mom, what is this? Connor, she's twisting it. It was a mix-up, the contractor? Mom, the texts. She was going through my messages. I'm asking about the texts, Mom. Nadia was crying quietly, the kind where you don't make noise. She'd been in those texts. She'd believed some of it. She looked at me and said, I didn't know, Beth. I didn't know about the money. I nodded. I believed her. The neighbors left during the next silence, which was the most awkward thing I've ever watched happen, and then it was just family. Connor said, you're paying Beth back, all of it, and you're not touching our accounts again. Ruth said, I did this for Miles. I did this so. You did this so you could tell everyone I can't handle my own life. I read the texts, Mom. I didn't stay for dessert. I drove home with Miles, and Connor came an hour later. He sat on the edge of the bed and said, I should have listened to you first. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you first. I said, I know. Here's what happened after. Ruth repaid it. Not all at once and not gracefully, but Greg made her. He came over alone, without her, and wrote a number on a piece of paper and said, this is what she owes with the utilities, and it's coming out of her account, not ours, and you're going to see it every month until it's even. He's a quiet man. I'd underestimated him. I took over every account in the house. Mine, Connor's, joint, all of it. I set the passwords, I watched the statements. Connor doesn't mind. He's relieved, honestly. Ruth doesn't have a key anymore. She sees Miles at our house with us there, or not at all. She offered to help again when he started teething, and I said, thanks, we've got it. And she didn't push, because she knew I'd show her the folder. Nadia and I actually talk now. She apologized twice, and I told her to stop, and then we had coffee, and she told me her mother had done a version of this to her, smaller, with a credit card, years ago, and she let it go. She wasn't letting this version go. We're not close, but we're something. Connor sees his mom on his own, dinners with Greg, holidays split. He loves her. He also checks the bank app now, which he never did before. He says she's still my mother, and she did a terrible thing, and that's about as honest as anyone's gotten about it. I think about that kitchen sometimes. The marble, the good silver, the way the light came in. It was a beautiful room, and I paid for it, and I will never eat in it again. The emergency fund is built back up now, higher than it was. I keep the ledger in the same folder in a drawer by the bed, and sometimes when I can't sleep, I take it out and look at it. Not to stay angry, but to remind myself of the version of me who sat on the kitchen floor with those invoices and thought she was going crazy, and how wrong she was about that, and how right she was to take photos.